hold of the president and spoke with him directly to register my opposition to this act and to make clear that it was an opposition based on being opposed to a pursuit of regime change.
Yes. So Ron Mamdani, the communist New York Democrat jihadi, who he objects. He's for the drug traffickers. He's for the anti-American killer who steals elections in Venezuela because he's a Democrat. That's all you need at this point. Yeah, so this woman in Great Britain, she's a Pakistani Brit. And her name is Bushra. Bushra. B-U-S-H-R-A. Bushra Sheikh is a commentator on Good Morning Britain. It's like the British steal of Good Morning America, but they can't call themselves America. So they call it Good Morning Britain. Kind of a stupid name, don't you think? I think. But Bushra Sheikh, she's got a Twitter account, and she's on Good Morning Britain. And she's got a Twitter account, hasn't been banned. And she says, beep it, it's the curse word. Beep it, she says. Build that nuke, Iran. She's a Pakistani Muslim, very proud. I went to her Twitter page, her X page, and beep it, build that nuke, Iran. She wants Iran to build nuclear weapons because Donald Trump ordered the bombing of Iran's nuclear weapons facilities, which she doubtless lied about for years. So it's energy. They just want energy because that's who they're, energy-crazed people. They are. Amazing stuff. But, build that nuke. So she's a lefty, of course. And isn't it amazing how the lefties and the jihadis are on the same page when it comes to almost everything? Bloodthirsty ghouls that they are. Bloodthirsty ghouls that they are. Speaking of which, I had just reminded, had a fun text thread over the weekend with a friend. I don't want to say who it is, although you might know if I think you would know if I said. But said that he and his friends, it's the New Year, and they have a death pool, an annual death pool, where they have to put together a list of 10 names of people that you would know who they believe may not survive 2026. And there's a pool, and if you have to have 9. You got to get 9 out of 10, otherwise you don't win anything. Everybody puts in $100, and at the end of the year, next year on New Year's, they tally up the numbers and look at your. It's kind of like fantasy football, but a little bit different. Yeah, and the death pool for 2026, $100, and you get a whole bunch of people to enter, so you could win thousands of dollars from the death pool. And the reason I thought of it is that he said, yeah, my friend's wife said, we're ghouls. We're ghouls. That's why I was reminded when I said the word ghouls. So I just wanted to share it, because that's what I'm doing here. All right, now, do you remember when President Trump, the Democrats were trying to lynch him like the third world gang of bloodthirsty ghouls that they are? And they threw him in that was Fannie, right? Fannie Willis, who threw President Trump in a jail in Atlanta, Georgia. And the news media applauded. They loved it. Oh, let's have a civil war. Come on. Is it too late for a civil war? The Democrat Party, who gave us our first civil war because they wanted to keep slavery. But never mind that. President Trump was thrown in a jail in Fulton County, the Fulton County Jail, Atlanta area, Georgia. And it turned out that some bad news emerged about the Fulton County Jail. It was a very dangerous place, an unhygienic place, notoriously so. And it turns out that in the first 8 months of 2023, 9 inmates died in the Fulton County Jail. 10 inmates had died by early September of 2023. And when the Democrats and Fannie Willis, remember her boyfriend was making $800,000 a year to go visit Joe Biden at the White House and try to ambush Trump and set up Trump. They're communists. They're third world monkeys. They really are. So in 2022, 15 inmates died in the Fulton County Jail. It's like, hey, got another one here. It's like, got a floater over here. Isn't that amazing? And conditions, the jail, the U.S. Department of Justice, civil rights investigation into the jail. And President Trump was thrown in that jail. And the Democrats applauded. Now I want to share with you this morning on ABC, Good Morning America. Was it this morning or last night? This morning, they have a Democrat named Aaron Katersky, who is pretending, masquerading as a reporter, as a journalist. And this morning on ABC, listen, because we've got Nicolas Maduro in a jail in Manhattan, and they're concerned about Nicolas Maduro staying in this jail in Manhattan because it might not be very nice. He should probably get an apartment, penthouse, balcony, preferably, facing west if you can for the sunsets, overlooking Central Park, maybe. And, he's already got a driver and everything. But here is Aaron Katursky on ABC Fake News this morning on poor Nicolas Maduro. He's in a jail in New York that's not real nice.
We expect Maduro to make his first appearance in Manhattan federal court like so many other defendants before him, George. And in the meantime, he's going to be here at this decrepit federal jail in Brooklyn for the foreseeable future with Luigi Mangione, also awaiting trial in Manhattan federal court. Sean Combs, Ghislaine Maxwell, Sam Bankman-Fried have all spent time here and have all complained about the conditions inside.
That's because they're all billionaires, and they normally live in Gulfstream jets, and they fly to Paris to stay at the Ritz. You remember when Princess Diana, she was at the Ritz and then drove away with, remember the driver? Remember the driver's name? Henri Paul. That's French for Henry. Henri Paul. And he threw about 6 back, and then, they're just banging shots at the bar, smoking, dogging the chicks. I'm Henri Paul. I'm going to drive the Princess Diana. I think I've told you the story before, but we were in Paris. My best girl and I, we were in Paris several years ago, and a friend of ours who was a French intelligence officer actually took us for a great ride in Paris, brought us to the Ritz, and then hopped in his car. And there's the revolving door where Henri Paul came out to go get the car. And then Princess Diana came out with, what was her boyfriend? Dodi Al-Fayed. Dodi Al-Fayed was the boy. And remember that night that happened. We were out at a bar. A bunch of us were out at a bar. And then I wrote the headline for the next day. And the headline was, Die does as does Dodi. See? Die does as does Dodi. Because Dodi died in the crash too. But I digress. That was Aaron Katursky. Wait a minute. We got Sean Puffy Combs. We got Luigi Mangione's in there. A hero of the Democrat Party. The Democrats all want their daughters to marry Luigi Mangione. They think that he's cute. And he assassinated, targeted, stalked, murdered, gunned down, shot and killed a nice man married to a nice lady with 2 nice kids at home. The CEO of, how dare he, a health insurance company. So he was gunned down by the Democrats. And, President Trump was shot by the Democrats. And, Charlie Kirk was shot by the Democrats. And how many members of Congress? And remember they tried to wipe out the whole baseball team in Alexandria, Virginia, and shot Congressman Steve Scalise and nearly killed him. They've made this normal. They've made all of this normal. These people. Yeah, so Aaron Katursky, boy, it's what are the unsavory environment in the jail in New York. And we've got Luigi. Maybe we should get one of those, another Fifth Avenue penthouse for Luigi Mangione, too. So Aaron Katursky can sleep easy.
Here at this decrepit federal jail.
It's decrepit. Do you have a new jail? I'd really like it. Do you have a more recent jail, like more current jail? Because, I wonder, we should find out if the cellmate is Luigi Mangione. They probably get isolation cells. I think Luigi and Nicolas Maduro probably both get isolation cells because it's New York and is probably worse than the Fulton County jail. But Aaron Katursky never said, they put the president of the United States in this decrepit jail. No, they said, it's what he deserves. What did he do? He had a non-disclosure agreement. ABC News has hundreds of those.
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
He will surrender himself for processing at an overcrowded jail with a reputation for violence and neglect. A jail that is accustomed to holding defendants facing charges up to and including violent crimes, where stabbings are frequent. Actually, 3 people have lost their lives over the last month. That jail is where the disgraced ex-president of these United States is heading right now. She's
laughing. That was MS-13, MSNBC, Nicole Wallace. And Michael went and found that because we keep the stuff that we use. And Nicole Wallace, it was Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace laughing that President Trump was put in this jail where a number of people have been found dead this month. But they literally, do they want civil war? Is that what the filthy, rotten leftists are doing in the United States? Because they're shooting people all over the place and killing people all over the place, and they're arrogant and smug, and then, oh, no, it's a decrepit jail. You have a more current jail? You have anything with DVR? Come on, I mean, the cable's good, but I'd really like a digital video recorder if you could manage that. Yeah, so Nicole Wallace, that's NBC News, theoretically. She's a fake former Republican. Boy, I'm telling you. All right, now let's go to West Tabor. I like this guy. I was watching this guy this morning. He was 5 a.m. live on the Fox News channel, and his name is West Tabor. West Tabor, long-time, I believe, career DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA agent and senior person, and he was the attaché from the United States DEA to Venezuela for years. And he seemed to be a smart, steady guy this morning when I was listening to him. West Tabor is his name. And said, well, you know, when Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro took over Venezuela, boy, that's when things started to go bad. Well, let's go to this, because then I want to get to that crazy lady in New York. But here's West Tabor, former senior DEA guy assigned to Venezuela a long time.
You have to understand that when they took over Venezuela, and I say they, the party of Hugo Chavez, which Maduro ended up going even further with that, right? They wanted to do a couple things. They wanted to secure the country under the name of socialism, bring everyone in under the warm arms of collectivism, right? And then once they got in there, they started giving everyone the Heisman and started taking away their rights.
Everybody gets the Heisman Trophy. I like that. That was good. I laughed when I saw that, and I had to scratch my head and say, how do you spell Heisman again? But that's great. West Tabor, DEA, boy, he's got a background, U.S. DEA attaché to the nation of Venezuela.
What they were doing was they were drawing in terrorists from around the world, and you could see that in the indictment when they talk about giving passports and identities to some of these terrorists from Hezbollah, Hamas, and this was increasing as we went along. And we're not just talking about narco-terrorists. We're talking about terrorists from the Middle East.
We're talking about Hezbollah and Hamas. Why Venezuela? Well, they're the bad guys. See how this works? The bad guys always find each other. Anybody grow up with bad guys? Bad guys always find each other. They always know each other. Bad guy can look across the room, in a crowded bar, a smoke-filled room. You look across the room and you see some other, nefarious ne'er-do-well, and eye contact is made, and they immediately know. Bad guy, bad guy. Hezbollah, commie, right? Hamas, socialist. They're all in the same murderous pool. West Tabor, former now DEA.
You have to remember that this government was made up of a potpourri of bad actors.
Potpourri.
And Maduro is just one of them. And we have 15 or 16 of the top-level cabinet members and generals indicted.
15 or 16 indicted. And Face the Nation, they wish that the U.S. military had completely invaded the nation of Venezuela so we could stand up a permanent base there and go around arresting people. Because Margaret Brennan, not the sharpest star in the shed. Just amazing. And listen to that. What was Venezuela doing? Venezuela, bad guys. They love all the bad guys of the world. So they were helping them out in any way they could. They'd give them travel documents, give them passports, give them photo IDs, give them bank accounts, give them everything they need to do bad things.
Providing fake backstop identities for terrorists to travel around the world. And that was great back in the 90s and 2000s when Venezuela passport actually had some authority. Now it's not even worth the paper it's printed on, right? Yeah. But these are the types of things that they were doing.
Now, the wife, the charming and lovely wife of Nicolas Maduro, is Celia Flores. Celia Flores is somebody that West Tabor is familiar with well.
At the end, you had Celia Flores, the wife of Maduro. You have Nicolas, the son. And what they were doing was working hand in glove with Tren de Aragua to move those dope boats that we were blowing up in the Caribbean. That was all Tren de Aragua with the help of the son of Nicolas Maduro.
With the help of the son of it is Nicolas Maduro is the son, and in this case, and look, there are bad guys in the world, bad guys in this city. That's why you have to have a police department. We have 17 of them in Washington, but that's not important now. And I don't like the United States having to play the role of Globo Cop. You know, I really don't. But we can sit here and be slapped around for the next 100 years. Or you can stand up for civilization. And the good guys can stand up against the bad guys that steal elections. And, hey, what about those voting machines? I want to get Sidney Powell. Let's get Sidney Powell on the phone. If I did guests on this show, I would have called Sidney Powell this morning. I want to talk to her, play that audio from 2020 and say, well, any update, Sidney Powell? And in case she's listening, we are at 888-630-9625. Now, I had actually meant to go back to one of our excellent callers. It was William. We had two Williams. It was the second William. And William was saying, well, you know, look, President Trump, we sent Delta Force down. That's not an easy lift. More than 120 airplanes, U.S. military aircraft. Helicopters are technically airplanes also. And we had two guys apparently shot and wounded from ground fire while aboard one of their special operations helicopters and all that. But William said, you know, this could open a can of worms, and there are headlines about this too. No, why wouldn't China come to the United States and arrest Donald Trump at the White House? Why wouldn't Iran? Right? Now, keep in mind that the mayor of New York has said that he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu when Benjamin Netanyahu comes to the United States. And at the same time, this lunatic mayor in New York, who's a communist and a jihadi, he wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. He wants to criminalize everything Donald Trump does. But he wants to release Nicolas Maduro because they're pro-crime and anti-American. The left is here, and they're here to destroy Western civilization. But keep in mind, and William, I'm finally getting around to going back to this, but, you know, the Democrats already arrested Donald Trump, like 4 times? They charged him 4 different times. They threw him in the Fulton County Jail where people are dying like it's Hell's Island. And the news media laughed about it. They loved it. Our news media is the filthiest, most corrupt institution in America. There's no doubt about it. Most of them come from the world of prostitution. Yeah, but they charged him with 88 crimes. They tried to put him in prison forever. I guess the Democrats started it. Democrats are going to, they destroy everything they touch because they're not liberals, they're the left and all that. But they elected a communist, the Democrats did, to be the mayor of New York City. A lot of commies all over the place. From Seattle to New York, the Democrat Party is not on our side at all. But listen to this. Zohran Mamdani, what country are we living in? Gugu land? Honestly, the man who would be king. This is primitive stuff that the Democrats are inflicting upon us. Here's a fun headline for you from the New York Post and not the New York Times. Zohran Mamdani's new New York City tenant advocate. It's the tenant advocate. Okay, big cities have positions like that. Called to, quote, seize private property. Blasted home ownership as white supremacy. Owning a home is white supremacy. And they're going to come around with guns and take your home. They do it all over the place. Move into people's homes and then refuse to leave. And there was a story in D.C. 2 weeks ago, some woman who rented an apartment and then refused to pay rent. And 16 months later or something, the owner of the unit was still trying to get this woman kicked out. And in D.C., they're on the side of the criminal because lefties run the city. But listen to this. I guess her name is Sia, It's spelled letter C, letter E, letter A. Sia Weaver, Mamdani's new director of the New York City office to protect tenants. That's what they named the office. Probably steals everything from them. Made these crazy statements, lecturing posts on her. She has shut down her X account. Her Twitter account has been shut down since she posted this stuff. But it's completely crazy, just nuts. Now, here's the thing. Seize private property. She said June 13th of 2018, which is a number of years ago now. That's June is, it's whatever, 5.5 years, 6 years. And this is the woman. Is it really a woman? She looks kind of zombie-like, doesn't she? I'm going to criticize her looks, except she looks just like a zombie. Other than that. But let me play the audio for you of the woman that the new communist in charge of, and it's a slur, of course, Democrats are proud of. He calls himself a democratic socialist. Democratic is just a fig leaf. Socialist is the word, and it's used as a euphemism for communist. The Soviet Union also called themselves the USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. They didn't call themselves communists in their name, and neither does Ron Mamdani. But here is his new pick to be occupying an important position in New York City. Her name is Sia Weaver. And listen to this, if this isn't just the Bolshevik Revolution, St. Petersburg, 1917.
I think the reality is that for centuries, we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good. And we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently. And it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
A different relationship to property, right? Isn't that great? And for centuries, we've just looked at private property wrong. That private property is not something that an individual might own. You don't own property. And white people, she's white, they're all mental. All liberal white women are brainless. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, and back in 2018, she's talking about seizing private property. I think she's a communist. She's a racist. And she's a self-loathing white racist. The Democrats have made millions of them. But that is a truly amazing, and it's a video. I only played the audio portion, because radio and all that. But Sia Weaver, Mamdani's new tenant advocate director. For centuries, we've looked at private property as an individual, but it's like you've got an individual right of some kind. They're here to take away your rights. The left is coming for your rights, and they're coming for your property as well, because when they call themselves socialists, you know that they're communists. They put the fig leaf word democratic in front of, and I've played Bernie Sanders here in the past. Somebody said, hey, you're a socialist. He spits food out from between his teeth. Democratic socialist. Yeah. And which of your 4 homes are you today? To be fair, he only owns 3 homes, but he was renting a 4th home for a good period of time. And he flies private to go places because, he's a commie. But there she is, Sia Weaver, and individual, the idea that properties, housing, your home is something you can own, like it's an individual right. She said, no, we're going to change that and make it a collective right. We got to change all that. And some families, especially white families, because everything has to be racially divisive, racially polarizing, which is the old communist playbook, and it is, race, class, and gender in all things. And look at the Democrats today, race, class, and gender. It's the Communist Party playbook from the last century. And the Democrats, who were all raised on Saul Alinsky, as was Barack Hussein Obama, as was Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, And I'm just, you know what? That's so good. It's 35 seconds. I want to play it again because this is New York City today. The Communist Party has taken over.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good.
Individualized good.
And we are going to transitioning to treating it as
we're going to
a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently. And it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well,
POC,
are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Different relationship to property than we currently have. And especially white families. And she chuckled a little there. But also POC, they speak like Chinese. That's people of color, in case you're so normal that you haven't kept up with the insanity of the Democrat Party. And in case you haven't kept up with the insanity of the Democrat Party, well, I have, and we have here. Let's go to Melissa Harris Perry, who had an anchor position at MS-13 DNC, NBC News anchor, 7 figures a year. Melissa Harris Perry. This is several years ago now, but you just heard Sia Weaver in New York sound like a Bolshevik during the 1917 revolution. Here's Melissa Harris Perry, perfectly smiling, twinkle in her eye, little communist mental case, and 7-figure, $1 million a year anchor woman at an NBC News property. And here's what she said about your relationship to your children.
We've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
They're coming for everything. They're the left. They might as well be the Soviet Union. They are so far away from being on our side. Wow. Yeah, Zohran Mamdani's new New York City tenant advocate called to seize private property, blasted home ownership as white supremacy. Just remarkable. Series of pro-communist social media posts. Sia Weaver, Mamdani's new director of the City of New York Office to Protect Tenants. The Cold War did not end. It just morphed. The Soviet Union lives on. They changed their name to the Democrat Party. That's what's happening here.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Yeah, individualism is bad. The warmth of collectivism, which is Soviet and Chinese communism. And this is the Democrat Party. They're out, and he says he's a democratic socialist. Remove the word democratic. It's a fig leaf. The communists have taken over the Democrat Party. And the warm embrace. There's a song lyric in there somewhere. And didn't we hear about a warm embrace earlier today as well? Or is somebody else talking about the warm embrace of socialism?
When they took over Venezuela, and I say they, the party of Hugo Chavez, which Maduro ended up going even further with that, right? They wanted to do a couple things. They wanted to secure the country under the name of socialism, bring everyone in under the warm arms of collectivism. Right?
The warm arms of collectivism. That was our DEA friend who was just wonderful, Wes Tabor. The warm embrace of socialism. And, nobody else has killed 100 million people with a warm embrace, but I guess somebody had to start. The warm embrace of your own death. The Democrat Party. Yes, sir. All right, I got a couple. Let's go to number 14. Look, I just call them as I see them, and I just play. I'm not tricking you. I'm not tricking anybody. I'm playing what they said. I'm not editing it in an NBC way, which they're fond of doing, and so many others in the fake news media are fond of doing. God, I've got to say, this show's just a much better news show than anything you're going to find on CNN, anything you're going to find on MS-13 DNC. Just crazy. All right, but let's go to number 14. Daniel DiMartino. Daniel DiMartino was on the television this morning. And 5 a.m., right? 5 a.m. hour. I was busy in the 5 a.m. hour. He's with the Manhattan Institute. And they're talking about Venezuela. And I've got to say, there's there are all kinds of moments going on with the United States and Venezuela and the world and Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro and Venezuela and the United States and put him in a jail cell with their Luigi Mangione. Look at who the heroes of the Democrat Party are. They should all be in jail. Before they go shooting CEOs and shooting Republican members of Congress like Bernie Sanders' campaign volunteers shot Steve Scalise with a Chinese combat assault rifle on a baseball field in Virginia and on and on. But the Democrat Party, violent mob. Daniel DiMartino of the Manhattan Institute this morning saying, hey, President Trump, okay, we grabbed Nicolas Maduro and threw him in jail in New York. But what next? What are we going to do? Because now there is his vice president, Nicolas Maduro's vice president, has taken over. And she's no great shakes either. However, she has done something today that has infuriated the left. And she came out and said, well, look, I'm perfectly willing to work with the United States. What? I can't believe that. Work with the United States? Al Jazeera's covering it, but CNN's not. Venezuelan interim leader tones down criticism. Ready to, quote, work with the U.S. The thing is, she's Nicolas Maduro Jr. She didn't win any election either. She's part of the stolen election crowd. So she's just another filthy commie. But the interim president, whose name is Delcy Rodriguez, said she's willing to cooperate with the United States on the future of Venezuela, even if it doesn't involve you. In a significant shift in tone from the immediate aftermath of the military operation, leading to the abduction of leader Nicolas Maduro by U.S. Special Forces. So many things to question just in the language being used there, but it's Al Jazeera after all. And it's Erin Hale, an Irish Catholic-looking American woman, writing the story on the Al Jazeera webpage. Cooperate with the United States. The aftermath of military operation leading to the abduction. They said it's an abduction. Well, it's an arrest. Was he the duly elected president of Venezuela? No, not really. No, he wasn't. He stole the election, ignored the results of the election, and did that. All right, I'm sorry, Daniel DiMartino. But there is the abduction, they call it. Pretty funny. Daniel DiMartino, Manhattan Institute. What next?
Really, the hope is that President Trump has laid out a plan of how to restore freedom back to Venezuela so that America can be more prosperous with more oil exports rather than drug exports. That sounds like a good idea. Hey, let's see, burn oil, not drugs. The Democrats like, no, oil is bad for the planet. And they all hope that all of their children will die of drug overdoses before they can drive cars. I think it's Democrat Party plan. But Al Jazeera said, and others say, it was an abduction. He was kidnapped. The Democrats are using the word kidnapped all over the place. He was not legitimately elected. He was one of the world's leading kingpins of drug operations. Human trafficking, the Tren de Aragua, never mind that, Daniel DiMartino of the Manhattan Institute. President Trump is also pursuing his duty as president. What does the president do? Law enforcement. He arrested and indicted a drug trafficker. That is literally the duty of the executive branch. So it is legal and it is in the interest of the United States. Well, it's legal and it's in the interest of the United States. And you can see that's why the Democrats would be against both of those. And what's going on in Venezuela? Some people, there was an immediate response there. People were celebrating in the streets, and then the guns came out because the commies are in charge and they'll kill everybody. It'll be Tiananmen Square. Daniel DiMartino, who knows whereof he speaks and a good smart guy, he's an economist and he focuses on immigration policy and great stuff. But what's going on in Venezuela now? Right now, people are very scared. They're scared because the regime is still in power. This is important to understand. And they have the guns. So people are very happy. And everybody supports what President Trump did. But they're scared of demonstrating like we can here abroad because we have freedom of speech here. Because we have freedom of speech here. They're afraid to come out and protest and cheer and hoot and holler that they're glad that this president is gone, but now his vice president is in charge. And
And will the military in Venezuela give up power willingly? Likely not. Because, the left is here, and they've got the guns now. And we've seen this time and time again on planet Earth in the last 100 years. When the only people in the country with the guns are the left, government or not, then that country is toast. The Democrats are on the side of the guys with the guns.
You can't own property, man.
I can, but that's because I'm not a penniless hippie.
Have you noticed that everything with the Democrats is a conspiracy theory? There's this Venezuelan woman that won the Nobel Peace Prize for no good reason. And here's the headline, even at the Times of Israel. Trump didn't boost Venezuelan opposition leader because she accepted Nobel Prize he coveted. Report. Then they put report. Yeah, somebody else said it, So U.S. President Donald Trump brushing aside the opposition leader, who's Maria Corina Machado, as a potential interim leader in Venezuela, because then the conspiracy theory is, no, it's because Trump was resentful that she won the Nobel Peace Prize. It's got nothing to do with her. It's got everything to do with the committee of lefties in Norway, but never mind that. And my preferred conspiracy theory that the left is not spreading goes back to Sidney Powell and the press conference she held in 2020, and where she said that the voting machines were corrupted by Venezuelans who, and there are voting machines, right? They're American voting machines, and they corrupt them. And President Trump has said for years, and Sidney Powell, Trump's lawyer in 2020, raising questions. What about Venezuelan tampering with the voting systems that are used in the United States? They corrupted the elections in Venezuela. President Trump has always been scratching his head about 2020 and the election there. So what does this guy have to say about all that? That's my preferred conspiracy theory.